Welcome back to the Snod Pod with John Snodgrass, your mortgage resource, where we're talking real estate, mortgages, and beyond. Back here with part 3 with attorney Patrick Hessling. If you want to see his origin story, go back to part 1, but also check out part 2 where we're talking trusts and estate planning. So Pat, thanks for hanging out a little longer.
Yeah.
Just wanted to talk to you a little bit longer. Just curious, can you tell me any just interesting stories in the real estate realm that you've dealt with lately?
Okay. Yeah, I did have an interesting story last year. And this kind of goes back to, I think in one of the other segments I had mentioned that all real estate transactions have to be in writing.
Right.
So that's an important piece, and a lot of people don't realize that. But that point comes into play into this story I'm about to tell. I represented sellers on a transaction last year where they received an offer from buyers, and it was a very good, attractive offer. It was for more than what they were asking on the property. We got a written offer. Sellers accepted it. That was on a Friday, I believe.
Okay.
Saturday morning, I was checking my messages, and the realtor helping out the buyers informed me that the buyers got cold feet and wanted to back out of the deal.
Okay.
With it being Saturday, I did send a message to my clients, my sellers, and my plan was on Monday to put together the official paperwork to cancel the deal. There's a document called a cancellation and mutual release if the parties want to go that route.
Sure.
Monday morning, I went into my office with intentions of drafting up a cancellation, and I got a call from the buyer's realtor that they had changed their mind again. So they had gone from not wanting the place, well, they went from wanting the place to not wanting the place, then to wanting it back.
Okay.
And since nothing had been done in writing to cancel the deal, our original offer was still in place. The original written offer.
You didn't get them the was it the WB-40 or?
That'd be an amendment, right?
Oh, yeah,
but the original WB-11 was signed, and so the deal was still in place. There was nothing that had negated that. Unbelievably, well.
That's Monday.
So obviously I had to talk to my clients, and then I had to connect with the representative for the buyer and say, look, are they 100% sure?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you're really putting my people through the ringer. And to kind of back up here, the sellers were very motivated to sell the property.
They want it out.
They didn't have a lot of I don't think they had a lot of buyers they thought that were super interested.
Okay. And
they had already relocated out of the area.
Okay.
So they were really motivated.
Yeah.
So then I had to call them back and say, look, the buyers here actually want back in on the deal. And they said, well, okay, I suppose we'll stick with them. And then sure enough, the next day I got another call. Yeah, exactly. They wanted back out again.
So back out number 3.
Well,
two.
Back out
they were
number
in.
2.
Okay. Got it.
Back out number 2. And at this point, I'm just like pulling my hair out, obviously. And believe it or not, they actually then came back the next day and flipped again. So the gist of it is, which was unbelievable. I mean, my sellers were...
What an emotional roller coaster.
My sellers were amazing to stick it out because... but there was nothing that had canceled the deal.
Yeah.
So we still had a contract in place.
Okay.
And the deal ended up getting done. There was, I had never been involved in something like that in the, 20 years or so that I did real estate.
Yeah.
It was a really unique situation. And one that my sellers will always remember. And, I don't know exactly what's going on with the buyers, but ultimately the deal got done, and it was something else.
Man, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I mean, well, real estate is just such an emotional transaction. Obviously, you've lived there. You got the kid. You raised a family, and then you go to sell. You just really want it to be smooth. And man, that's a lot.
And one other piece to that too was that you had mentioned an amendment, and that is actually something that we did after they had backed out twice. We basically went back and said, look, we're gonna raise what's called earnest money.
Sure, I was going to ask a question on that. Go ahead.
We really significantly increased the earnest money. I want to say that it was maybe up to like $15,000.
Okay.
A significant amount. And so for your listeners, earnest money is essentially money that a buyer deposits with the seller, really to make sure that they don't get cold feet. To make sure that they don't back out for some non-legal reason. And so that was the caveat that my sellers had, was that, look, if we get, $15,000 in earnest money, is that we could potentially keep that money as a punitive measure against these buyers if they back out again. And that actually did the trick, because they stuck with it. And who knows, probably at home every day for that 30 days between the last time the time that they gave us the earnest money until the closing, those buyers probably were second guessing themselves. But that was a tool that was used to get the deal done. And my sellers ultimately, even though it was a stressful transaction, they were happy with what happened.
Well, that was a great idea by you to up the earnest money on the amendment, just to, hey, enough. Enough of this, back and forth, nonsense. Wishy-washy, nonsense. To kind of piggyback on this, so what if they did try to get out of the deal? Is it just as simple as, hey, you lose your earnest money, or can the seller, I don't know, sue the right
it's a good question. There's actually, so Wisconsin has a standard WB11, which is multiple pages. I'm sure you've seen it.
For sure.
And there are clauses within the WB11 that lay out what a seller and a buyer can do in terms of, if the other party defaults, you can sue for specific performance. There's some other options. The surrendering of the earnest money is another one. If there's an earnest money dispute and the parties can't agree on who's entitled to the earnest money, there are avenues within the offer as to how that should be handled as well. But again, it's all laid out in writing in the offer.
Okay.
But I can honestly say this: probably 90 to 95% of the people that come to me on real estate transactions say this is going to be an easy deal. There's not going to be any hiccups.
Right.
And it's probably, it's certainly more than 5 or 10% of them that have hiccups. But most are smooth. But it's a big transaction. There's a lot of emotions, like you said, in place. So.
Again, kind of staying on this topic, like, I've been doing this, I think it'll be 20 years in December. I've had a few transactions where somebody wants out, but it's usually pretty quick. Like, they get cold feet a couple days later, and some of the times it's just the seller will just like let them out. Sometimes they'll even give them their earnest money back. And then I've had a few where they don't. But I guess where I'm going with this is, do you ever see, like, because cash offers are so big now, and I think it's like a third of deals are going cash. Have you ever seen one where there's a cash offer and they decide to back out? Is it just as simple as it's the earnest money, or
the earnest money, securing the earnest money within the offer is a big thing.
So try to get the earnest money large if you're the seller?
In
a cash offer?
Yes.
Regardless of the offer, cash or not.
Trying to get a significant amount of earnest money, whatever that is. If if the deal were to die, if the buyer were to back out and the seller was entitled to keep the earnest money, for some people that might be 1% of the purchase price.
That seems pretty common. Sometimes it's more like 5%.
Right.
Sometimes even 20.
Yeah. Some people, it kind of depends. It's a case-by-case basis for the seller. It depends on the seller. I mean, as the attorney, you have to go to the client and say, look, here's your options. Most people that are selling real estate want to sell that real estate quickly. So going through some type of lawsuit where they're trying to force this buyer to purchase the real estate is usually not...
Got him.
Liar.
Got him. Keep going.
Nice. There you go. Is usually not something they want to do.
Yeah.
It's
work
time,
it out.
It's money.
Work it out.
Yeah. Work it out, move on to the next person, especially in a market where it's a seller's market.
Yeah.
Where like inventory is low now.
Right.
You're going to have multiple buyers looking at your property.
Yeah.
Get it back on the market. Maybe you get something, like I said, as a punitive measure from your buyer who backed out. But, that's all up to the sellers.
Well, hey, this has been great. I could talk to you all day.
Wow,
maybe another time we can have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to be back.
But thanks for coming in. Again, everybody, Attorney Patrick Hessling, he's awesome. He's helping me and my family right now with some estate planning. But for real estate, estate planning, probate, if you're looking for that, give him a call. Do you want to give your phone number and website again one more time?
Phone number 414-448-7250. Give us a call, and the website is HesslingLawOffice.com.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, John.
For coming in. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks again for listening and watching the Snod Pod with John Snodgrass, your mortgage resource, where we're talking real estate, mortgages, and beyond. Thanks for joining us today.